Hi everyone, this is Elena with Glass Factory, and today we're here with Khaya of Kiss, which is an New York City-based synth pop band that is a not-so-girl band. The trio makes bops that combine intense energy and confident, honest lyrics to establish an environment where it's okay to be free and weird, but also safe. Thanks for chatting with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Definitely appreciate you taking time out of your day. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, we'll get into questions after.
I'm Khaya. I'm the lead singer in Moonkissed. Emily and Leah wish they could have been here, but it's a crazy month right now and we have a lot of stuff going on. So just me today.
That's okay. We're happy to host you still. So one is better than none. Okay, so let's talk about your newest album. I'd like to tell you something important. As your group has previously mentioned regarding the album, it was more of a collaborative process than your first one. So can you explain the process by which the album came about? Like, how did you make sure that it was collaborative and that each member was able to provide their own input?
Yeah, well, so the first one was kind of what started the band. Like it was just like demos that I had, and Emily had worked on a few of them with me, and then we got Leah to record on them. So that was kind of like the first body of work we started playing with. And then slowly there were some songs that we like hadn't finished for that first one, and also some songs that we had written, the three of us. So that went towards our second body of work. So the first one, like I had before we even met Leah. And then so the second one was we all knew each other. We had all played the songs live a bunch. Like I think there are only like one or two that we have that we like don't play in our live set. So we've been playing them for years. And just because we were already like a band by the second record, I think that's what made it collaborative, was like it wasn't just me in my bedroom producing it anymore, or just me and Emily doing it. It was now like the three of us and fans too, friends and fans kind of. So it's like, okay, the first one was kind of just like, we're gonna put this out, we're gonna play shows for fun, no one's gonna care. And then now it's like, okay, we need to put out a second record because there are people coming to our shows and we need to be like working towards something and adding new songs to the set and all that. And there are a few that like I wrote, or that me and Emily wrote, or that me and Leah wrote, but then there are also a few that the three of us wrote. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of everything.
Very cool. Well, how did it feel to kind of have the second record be a result of like the band coming together?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think it had a weird trajectory because, like I said, some of those songs had been around like since the start of the band, but just didn't make it onto the first record because it just didn't fit sonically, or they just weren't ready, or whatever it was. So it feels like we've been making the second record since we've been a band. So it's like, and then it was already like as soon as the pandemic hit, I feel like it's been done for quite a while. So the drop of it, we were just waiting for the right time to drop it when we could play shows again. So it was kind of anticlimactic in some ways, because some of the singles we put out during the pandemic and we couldn't play them to a crowd, and that just like didn't feel like anything, like it didn't hit me. And so the album release show was kind of crazy because it's like, wow, we've had this for a while, and it's such a release. I mean, that's why they call it a release, I guess, but it was so amazing to share it but at the same time, it's like we've had this for so long, like it's old news to me, but then to see it hit people again, where it's like, oh yeah, this is new and exciting, and some people have never heard these recordings, even though I've heard them thousands of times by now, so and it's just like it was a good like bump in our confidence, and like a reason to tour again, which I really miss doing. But we're always kind of like two steps ahead, it feels like. we're always adding new songs to our live set, and like I'm a songwriter, so I'm constantly writing songs and thinking about which ones are going to make it on what record. So like we're already on like our fourth album in my head, so it's
Oh,
like
wow.
yeah, so it's, and like I think that's the exciting part now, is like we have all these songs and now it's like really molding them into like getting everyone's input on them and kind of like making them tell more of a story and like really chiseling it out.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't think, I forget what the question was, but I feel like it was a strange feeling to put it out because it had been done for so long. And even like, yeah, we've been playing a lot of the songs out for a while too, so it's like, okay, yeah, now this is on the internet,
Yeah.
which is important these days. But yeah, it's like it doesn't, the internet to me like doesn't feel like much. Like to put out a song doesn't, without being able to play it, doesn't feel like that much. So
Gotcha.
it was kind of like, okay, yeah, now these recordings are out, but we've been playing these songs, like most of our friends know them already, and that, but now they have the recordings, so that's what makes it special. It's like they can
Yeah.
have them in their pocket.
So what is the story behind the album title?
Yeah. So it came about because early on, Emily made this beat that was like a chop of this recording she found of some YouTuber, or like some, I forget what it was, but it was just this like, hi, I'd like to tell you something important. And it was like weird and funny, and she like made this beat out of it, and then it was like an interlude in our set for a while, and it was also an interlude on our first album, so we kind of knew that that's what we wanted to call the second album. And then I think sonically and like lyrically, the whole album was kind of formed around that. Like it we named it before we put it together. So I think looking back on it, like in hindsight, it's a more mature album than our first album. Like I think we've all grown up a lot. The songs are a little like darker and more serious, like less just like crush songs. So I think that's why we named it that. And then yeah, I think it's also a really interesting thing because I interpret it differently than other people interpret it. I think because of the nature of the songs, like they're a little broad. It feels like people can really apply it to whatever they want to. So it's like I could tell you what the record's about for me, which is something like very deep and dear to my heart. But I think it's like a utility record. Like I want people to use it to interpret whatever they want. And so that to me adds another layer to the title. Is like, I'd like to tell you something important. We all have different things that are important to us, and we all have different ways of expressing them. And let this record be kind of a tool to help you find that thing or to interpret that thing.
So touching on the themes, you guys touch on heartbreak, how we change ourselves to appease other people, amongst others. Where did you draw inspiration from when writing this album with those themes?
Yeah. Wow. I artistically it's all over the place because like I said, this was made over a long period of time. So it's kind of like different reference tracks came about. Like for a while there was like a Killer's Phoenix phase, and then there was a lady punk phase, there was a what do we reference? Oh, we referenced a Nine Inch Nails song for Panic. Like it kind of just took on a world of its own. One of the songs we wrote like on tour, Dance. So it's kind of all over the place again. Like this was a very, very scattered record in its making, but I think that's kind of what makes it special because it is about like change and introspection. And I think, yeah, I think it's kind of like it felt like a little bit prophetic too. Like some of the songs I wrote, like not really knowing what they were, or they were about one thing, and then now they mean something else to me. Like I know Chameleon, like I wrote about a friend and like a shitty boyfriend she had, but I was also writing it about like the music industry and feeling like kind of outs from that. And then now it means something completely different to me. So yeah, I think the inspiration was it was all over the place. It was whatever we were listening to at the time, and whatever we were feeling at the time. And it changed so much. Like, it wasn't any one thing. And I think it was like, it wasn't even any like one group of thing. It was like a large umbrella of things. And it was really hard to wrangle it all in to make a record, but we did it somehow.
Yeah.
Or we tried.
Was it cool? Since this has been coming together for so long, was it cool to kind of, as you were putting the tracks in order and like putting out the final product, was it cool to kind of be like just reflecting on everything that has, happened since?
It was crazy. And the craziest thing for me, and this goes back to like a little bit of the weird prophetic nature of it, is like, once we ordered it, like once we decided what songs we wanted to use and made a playlist and I listened to it, that's when like the true meaning as it is right now of the entire record hit me. And it was so outside of what all the songs were about. But there was something in the order, like it was like, okay, so there's these cutesy songs at the front, like cutesy poppy, and then it kind of gets angry, and then it gets defeated, and then it kind of gets triumphant again. And just like that whole whirlwind was a journey that I had gone on that I hadn't realized that I'd gone on because I was so in it. And then zooming out with that playlist was, super crazy to me. And I guess I knew the whole time, and that's why I'm writing the songs, but it's like I'm writing the songs at specific moments. So then to zoom out and be like, whoa, that was like my whole like life for the last couple of years. And like that makes sense why it took that arc, because I also took that arc. So yeah, that was pretty wild. And I guess like it doesn't sound that crazy like explaining it, but it was like, it's like as if like you're so like painting a little like piece of a landscape, and then you like zoom out and you see the whole picture. It was, and I hadn't realized like that I had been creating little pieces of a whole picture until that moment.
So I really enjoyed the use of monologues to introduce different themes that would like come forth in the songs. And I know you had mentioned that you had like fans and like friends kind of like help out with the album as well. So where did the idea come from to write the monologues? And then how did you actually go about writing the monologues?
So that also came from like a live set idea. We'd been using interludes for a while. We started doing it because I didn't want to talk on stage because it's very hit or miss. Like some nights I just feel too awkward, and it's just like takes people out of the show and takes me out of the show. But so that's why we started putting in quotes originally. It was just like, I don't want to talk. Like, let's incorporate spoken word. And so actually the interludes we had on the album were meant for live shows. Like we didn't know we were going to include them on the album. So one of them is by our friend Sam, who we're playing a show with on Friday. She also makes music and she's awesome. But yeah, we just reached out to a ton of friends and we were like, hey, like we don't want to talk on stage. Can you send us some spoken word, like literally anything? And so Sam sent that one. And I think people sent them because of the way that like they sent them in the context of like our shows, like how they felt at our shows, and they wanted to be a part of the shows and we wanted them to be a part of the shows. So yeah, Sam's I kind of can't believe. It's too incredible. It's so on the nose. It's like a feeling that I've had for so long but didn't know how to put words to. And she says she didn't even write it out. Like she just like spoke it.
Wow.
So that one to me is so powerful. And she's amazing. And then the other one on the record is by Alex Farina, who's an amazing author. And that was from an essay that she wrote because she's a writer. And then Emily put synths to it. So yeah, those both existed for live shows. And then we were like, they just fit so well before the songs that we were just like, let's put them on the record. Yeah, it's also just fun because they are like two really close friends. And so to have them be a part of it is, yeah. And I think that kind of speaks to the nature of like what kind of band we are too. It's like really not just about us on the stage. It's a very inclusive experience. And I know I'm part of the band, but it's like what the band has done for my life is the same thing that it's done for audience members' life. So I understand it's like, yeah, we're all kind of just like a part of this thing. Like it's this idea. And I just play a different role in it than an audience member would, but I think we're all grateful for it. I love touring. I love going to like random places. Like I feel like we've probably gone to more places that have gotten skipped over than to places that are usually hit. Like we go to the most random spots.
Well, I'm sure that's cool though, because then it's like you get to meet people who might not have the opportunity to go to a similar show, or like, you know, wouldn't have the opportunity to, I mean, go to an experience that your band creates otherwise. So I'm sure that's like
Yeah,
cool for not only you, but also for audience members who end up going.
absolutely. Like one of my favorite shows we've ever played on tour it was a house show in Auburn, Alabama, which is
Nice.
like a small college town. And it was like a completely like queer party in
Mhm.
Alabama, which is just like not, I'm from New York City, so I grew up in a bubble. And so to like see these like pockets of like liberal minded people in a red state is like so
Mhm.
incredible. And it totally rewrote the definition of safe space for me. And I'm actually pen pals with someone that I met at that show, so that's really
Oh,
fun. And yeah, it's totally that. It's like, okay, like you guys need this in ways that I might not, because I'm in New York City where I'm like encouraged to be free and weird every day, but you guys only have these nights to feel this way. And besides that, you're pretty much like, like tense all the time or like looking over your shoulder, and that
yeah.
sucks.
Going to my favorite track, Panic Mania. And like I said, the reason that I really like it is because, you know, I think it has a really unique soundscape that is really reflective of the title. How did you develop the sounds for this track?
Yeah. So Emily sent that beat and I wrote the song over the beat. And then we started playing it live, and the energy live was like ridiculous. Like it was nothing compared to the recording. And even to this day, that's like the track that I most look forward to playing live, because it feels like I want to put it earlier in the set because it feels like the ultimate icebreaker for me. Because after, like, I like writhe on the floor during that song, like every time. Like it's like a stage show at this point. But it's, to me, it's like, okay, now I'm ready. Like I'm warmed up and I feel good, and I feel like I've already done the weirdest thing I'm gonna do, so I can just like feel good now. So yeah, that's an insane one to play live. That's one that was like our, like, yeah, that was the most talked about live song that we did. And the recording just like did not live up to it for the longest time. And then I decided to, once the pandemic hit, I decided to reproduce it, just like
Mhm.
completely start over. And I took like Emily's synths and that's it, I think. And I was like, I'm just going to start over because the live drums weren't working. Just a lot of the elements weren't working. So I
Mhm.
reproduced it with that Nine Inch Nails song Closer as a reference track and just tried to make it more electronic. Because I was like, okay, let's try to make it something completely different, because we're never going to make it live up to the live thing if we try to make it sound live.
Yeah.
I don't know, it still wasn't hitting. So I sent it to my friend Benzie, who's an amazing producer, mixer, and he like worked some magic and now it sounds incredible. But yeah, I think it was veering away from what we do live was the key, because I think it was never going to live up to that. So it was like, let's try to create something different. So it definitely sounds different live than it does recorded.
Mhm. I appreciate that you decided that to like go in a different direction when you found out that it wasn't was when in your mind it wasn't working, because I feel like a lot of people can sometimes get stuck. I mean, just I think artists in general can sometimes feel very stuck in wanting to produce a final product, whatever that is what they see in their head. And if it's not working, then you're constantly just kind of like beating yourself against this like wall, and then
which I had done for a year with that song. And I think that's why I was just like, yeah, like I'd worked on it for so long. I was like, this just isn't working. Let me start over. And even the starting over didn't really work. But yeah, it's like I'd gotten it mixed by different people and it still wasn't working. And it's like I kept thinking it was there, but then I would play it for someone and I just wasn't getting the reaction that we'd get from the live set. And then that would bum me out. Yeah, definitely. I mean, Benzie saved it for sure. That's what happened with a lot of songs in this record, to be honest. It was like me having spent way too much time with them and not being able to hear them anymore as a producer. And so I was like, let me just send this to someone else, which like, yeah, it was totally like I had to take my ego out of it and just be like, I've been listening to the same sounds for 2 years now. I can't hear them anymore.
yeah.
I need to get help. Like, yeah.
No, that's cool that you have people that you can send it to who can offer you like advice or opinions or like just honestly help out. I think I like the collaborative nature of the artistic community.
Yeah, it's everything.
So talking about your album tour that you finished last month, how did it feel to be back on the road and specifically being able to kind of like showcase this album, even though your band had been playing the songs for a while? How did it feel to kind of have this like full piece of work out that you are now playing?
Yeah. I mean, tour was incredible. I had felt pretty like stuck in the city for a while too, because like, you know, we couldn't leave for the longest time. And like the city really felt, up until like very recently, it was like all the shitty parts of New York City without any of the like elements of release, you know? Like it's like, okay, the subways are still crowded, it's still dirty, you still have to go to work, like, but you can't go out and like party after, which is like kind of the only thing that makes it worth it, you know? So it was just, for me, it was a bummer. And like I'm such a band girl, like I miss seeing bands, I miss dancing. So yeah, and even when that started coming back, it was still just like, I don't know, I felt very wound tight. So tour was like great for that. It was just like, okay, we're moving, we're changing, I'm able to see new things. I haven't seen new things, I haven't met new people for a while. So that was amazing. And yeah, I think it was our first tour that was like for something, I guess. Like whenever we'd gone on tour, it had just been like for fun or to make friends and play a house show or whatever. But this was like, okay, they're like, we have people that are coming and we have like actual venues that want us. So it was a different vibe. Like I forever will love like the house show community and I want to keep doing those types of tours. But like this was definitely cool to like hear the same songs on like different stages and like see reactions in different places and meet people and kind of pick them up along the way was cool. And also I'd never done the type of thing, because we'd played house shows where it's like so chill, like all these venues were like sound check at 5 and then you're waking up at like 9 or 10, driving 6 hours, sound checking, going to eat dinner, playing a show, and then waking up and doing the same thing the next day. And it kind of like, I really liked it. Like it was definitely exhausting and it was a lot, but it's like you get so tight like with everything in your, like not just musically, but also just like I know exactly where to pack up all my shit and how to like get ready and put on makeup in like a mirror that's covered in stickers. And you just get like, I don't know, you get really like, you find your pattern and your routine, and then it just feels good and everything's leading up to the show moment, which is how shows should be. But in the city, it's so like we have so much going on that it's like, okay, yeah, it's show day, but I have to like do my laundry, and then I have to like go like teach a lesson, and then I have to go like see this person for coffee, and like, you know, it's just like we have so much going on here that it was really nice to like have nothing to do except this thing.
Yeah, it's like you almost are able to step away from everything else that makes you outside of music, and you can step away from that and like really just focus on the music for a while.
Yeah. And like also just seeing you as you applied in the most random places is kind of like very validating, like to be like, okay, yeah, I'm a fully formed human and I'm here with these other two humans and we have this thing and it takes us everywhere and we get to bring it places,
Mhm.
which it sounds weird, but it's like, yeah, I feel like because we all grew up in New York, it's so much a part of us that to be able to do what we do here in other places is like super eye-opening and like, okay, yeah, I'm a person. Like I don't just exist for New York City.
What were some like tour highlights? Were there any favorite
Mm.
shows that you had, or like favorite non-show memories, or just in general, some highlights from the tour?
Yeah. Well, we played a Halloween show in Davenport, Iowa at the Raccoon Motel. Um
At a motel?
and it was called the Raccoon Motel. It's not an actual motel. It's just
Okay.
the name of the venue. It's really cute though. The owner like decks it out with all these antique store items because Davenport is like really big on antique stores for some reason. Um, and that was a Halloween show, which was great vibes because everyone's just silly on Halloween and like we love dressing up and like costumes. So everyone was just in good spirits. I danced with a hamburger all night.
Very nice.
He was awesome. Everyone was just so sweet. And then we had the next day off in Davenport, which was one of our like only days off pretty much. And we went on this beautiful hike. We went antique shopping, and then we went back to the Raccoon Motel for bingo night, which was so fun. And we just like got to see everyone that was like at our show the night before and like hang out with them
Yeah.
again. It was great.
Oh, that sounds so fun. And it sounds like one of those things that you would not normally be like, let's do bingo night in Iowa.
Seriously. But it
Like,
was like we have no other plans and they invited us to bingo. Like, what else are we gonna do? Let's go.
yeah.
And it ended up being a blast.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I feel like those are the memories where it's like, you can't plan for them, but then they happen and you're just like, I had so much fun.
Yep.
That's
I think that's
awesome.
what I love about tour is like it's hard to make plans here just because everyone has so much going on. And there it's like you don't have to make plans, but you still end up like doing a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's very not no, it's like you don't have to stress out in order to like experience things.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you already probably have so much stress from just being on tour that the last thing you want is more stress
Yeah.
from like trying to plan things. So speaking more specifically about tour, since your tour took you kind of all over the country, can you share some tips on how to maintain your kind of sanity when you're away from home for so long?
Yeah, I did a horrible job on our pre-pandemic tour. So I feel like I really focused on what I could do this time that was better. Um, Number one is like, I think taking naps whenever, wherever possible, because really, like, you don't get a lot of sleep. And so, whenever you have a minute, whenever you're not driving or whenever you're in a green room and you're early, or like, whenever, wherever, like, if you're tired, or even if you're not tired, but you know you didn't sleep enough, like, take a nap because it will save you. That's
Mhm.
number one. We kind of tour like princesses. Like, I feel like we're like I don't like I brought an air mattress. Like I'm like I refuse to sleep on the floor. Like and like I don't know, like we drove a Prius which saved a lot of money on gas.
Mhm.
So we were like let's get Airbnbs instead of like sleeping on venue floors. So we stayed with friends where possible, but then where it wasn't possible, we were like let's make sure we all have like either a bed or a sofa. Like let's not do this thing where we're trying to save money and then none of us sleep. So if you're able to do that, I feel like that's worth it, is like making sure you know you'll be comfortable. um I really didn't drink that much on this tour, which I think was also a lifesaver because it definitely gets sticky if you're like drinking every night. Even if it's just like a few beers, like it's just you'll kill yourself. Um, and yeah, I think the no planning thing, which is hard to do because it's like, oh my God, we're going to all these places that I want to see and I want to like go to the museums and I want to like go to all the spots. But it's like, I think just kind of making sure you sleep as much as possible and then wake up and see how you feel and like really treat your body with respect. And like I ended up still seeing a lot, but it was just not planned. Like it was like, okay, I woke up and now I'm gonna like go walk to get a coffee, and like I'll stop on the way to like go look at that thing or whatever. Yeah, and then I think the other pieces of advice I have for like people who are touring is like to be independent. Like I think that's why we kind of work so well, because like I try like it's really easy to take on everyone's stress and moods at all times because you're in a car together and you're staying together constantly. But I think like I think we're all people who like need a lot of alone time, so it's like we just kind of like try not to take things out on each other and like keep to ourselves when we're moody, and then come together when we're not. I think that's important, because I think like being in that kind of situation with people that you spend so much time with, like every little bit of tension will come to the surface. And so like it's best to just like take care of yourself, that way you don't take things out on the others. And then if everyone's just doing that, and then like, yeah, it's like when I do have the energy, I'd love to like take care of other people, but that's not really like the time. So I think that was a big thing that we all learned from our first tour to our second tour, was like, yeah, let's like, we don't have to do everything together. We can like meet up for the show at night and like, you know, be by ourselves during the day. Like, I think that was a good move.
Cool. Yeah. So in your quest to create an environment where your fans feel safe to express themselves, whether, you know, virtually through song platforms or at the in-person shows, what have you learned about individuality and expression?
Yeah, a lot. Like I feel like first and foremost is like there's no right and wrong, and there's no normal, and there's no weird. Like these are all just self-imposed definitions. And I think once I let go of, I'm talking about me because I can't really speak for other people, but like once I let go of those kinds of like social parameters, I guess, like those definitions and those labels, is when I felt the most free. It was like, there's nothing wrong if I feel like moving my body this way, or if I feel like doing this thing. Like I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not, you know, I'm being considerate still. So like, what's wrong with me wanting to express myself the way I want? And I think that frees a lot of things up, and that it stops, like we live in, especially in music and art, it's like turning into such an imitative sphere where everyone's just trying to be like someone else. And I think it's so important to just like trust yourself and try as hard as you can to live outside of those lines, because that's where things get interesting and boundaries get pushed, and you know, real change can happen. I think like the first time we played topless, like I know this wasn't just a me experience, because a bunch of my friends had it in the audience, and Emily and Leah and I have talked about it, but it's like it just felt too good for it to be wrong. And immediately, like it was the best feeling ever, and so I had to like kind of like register that. But the day after, I felt shame for sure, because that's what's drilled into my head, is like, women can't be topless, you should feel shame, you should feel like a slut, you should feel this, you should feel that. And I think like that's when it fully kicked in, of like, I have to let go of these things, these rules that I was raised with, if I want to be like a free body on a stage, which I do, because I want people in the audience to be free bodies. Like I can't expect the audience to dance if I'm not dancing, because they don't look like, I want them to look at me and feel like they can do what I'm doing, or do what, which is whatever I want to be doing. So therefore they should do whatever they want to be doing. And it's totally like a feedback loop. Like people in the audience coming into their own makes me want to come into my own more. And it's been such a powerful exchange for all of us, I think.
I love that. I do think that like energy within the crowd has a lot to do with energy of the artist. And then, like you said, it's like this feedback cycle. So I love that. And I love that, you know, by you and the band taking a platform that also registers with audience members and gives them a platform as well. So I really
Yeah.
like that.
And I've seen it like at shows that I go to, because I know what I want from the front row. I give it to the band in the front row and it changes the entire energy in the room. And it's like, I know how to be the ultimate groupie, because like that's like, I think the front row is as important as the band
Yeah.
for the room to have a good time.
Yeah.
And like just feeling shameless up there is the key.
That's awesome. I'm sure I don't doubt that like bands appreciate that a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, I've had friends in bands that are like, you like as soon as you, because I like come in late and they're like, as soon as you come in, like just because I'm dancing and I don't care. And I
Yeah.
think like people are so stiff at shows sometimes, and you just need one person to be like the weirdo that doesn't care.
That's
So when
awesome.
I can, I try to provide that. Sometimes I'm shy too, but yeah.
So as a band composed of individuals who are unapologetically themselves, and you know, you kind of just talked about how you've gotten there. What advice would you leave for anyone who is struggling to find their identity?
Yeah. For me, I mean, it was found through music and art. So I feel like go with the things that draw you in. Like a big one for me recently has been like rediscovering Riot Girl. There were a lot of problems with Riot Girl that like I think there's a reason why it didn't continue. Like I think it was pretty like straight and pretty white. So I think it doesn't really hold up in the world today. But I think one value that I really took from it was like this multifaceted idea that like women can be multifaceted and you don't have to exist within the confines of what society has made you exist in. So that was a big one for me. I yeah, like reading, writing, going to shows. That's all really helped me form my identity. Is like, yeah, writing letters, like having a pen pal has been huge for me. I think it's just finding things that you enjoy, and like even if they're strange or I don't know, just like going with them.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if it's just my circle, but it feels like the world is moving more towards that place where like people like nerds now. Like nerds used to get bullied and now it's like everyone's a little nerdy and is less feels less shame about being nerdy. So I think like that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And also just like realizing that identity it doesn't have to be like etched in stone. It can change and morph, and then that kind of acceptance is what makes everything a little easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for people to find like the things in their life that drive them and that they're passionate about and get them going in the morning. Even if it's something that is a little bit nerdy or weird or whatever it might be, I think that's what makes everything really special. And that's what makes like the day worth getting up for, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
So what is up next for you all?
Yeah, well, this month we have residency shows at this venue in Ridgewood called Trans Picos. It's our second round of these parties. We did one in 2019. They're called Can't Deny the Chemistry, and it's 3 in a row. So the first one was Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll. This one is Sugar, Spice, Everything Nice. So they're themed, and they're just parties. Like I think it's just a celebration of like everything we just spoke about. And it's yeah, like I feel like at first it was like, oh yeah, they're just for fun. It's like a juvenile thing. Like we miss the buzz and excitement of New York. And I think now it's like, okay, yeah, everyone needs this. Like we need it now more than ever. And yeah, they're meant to build off of each other. They're meant to make you feel like you're a part of something.
Yeah.
That's why there's 3 of them. So that's what's going on this month. And then we'll see. We're working on some gigs for next year. We're working on the 3rd record always. So I don't really know. It's like a far, far away from being done, but we're always kind of working on it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, probably just when inspiration strikes, you're like, all right, let's get this down.
Yeah, yeah, and like we worked on the demos a lot over the summer for the third record, and now it's like in that like ordering and chiseling down stage, and then we'll probably dive deeper into production. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah, great. Well, this was great. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I really
you. Yeah.
appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing whatever comes next for you all.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let's keep in touch.
All right, have a good night.
Cool. Bye.
Bye.